Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2010 movie titled Boy Wonder. Please be advised that there might be spoilers ahead. The film begins with a chat between a young kid named Sean Donovan and his adoring mother, Mary Donovan. However, the tone swings dramatically when Sean and his father witness a carjacking that ends tragically with Mary's death. This tragic occurrence has left an indelible mark on Sean, molding him into a serious and withdrawn individual throughout his teenage years. 10 years later, Sean is still haunted by the memories of his mother's terrible death, making him hypersensitive to any type of violence. Even little things, such as seeing bullying in school, elicit strong reactions from him. Sean covertly takes medication hidden within a bandage container to deal with his anxiety and agitation, keeping his problems hidden from his father. Despite his personal challenges, Sean continues to perform intellectually, with a special interest in subjects such as chemistry that are above his school curriculum. When his father, Terry Donovan, tries to talk to him about his grades, their interactions are generally shallow and disconnected. The tense connection between Sean and Terry has persisted since Sean's mother died, making them feel more like strangers than father and son. Terry's efforts to restore normalcy in Sean's life have not been totally effective. Terry visits his wife's grave one day and apologizes for not visiting more frequently. He informs her that Sean has acquired a new buddy and intends to attend a party with him. Terry feels relieved as he watches his kid gradually re-engage with life. Meanwhile, when Sean enters the train, he has a vivid flashback to his boyhood. He recalls how his mother, Mary, used to encourage him throughout difficult times, particularly when his alcoholic father abused him. Mary would take him to music classes, giving him a much-needed break from their turbulent home life. Back in the present, Sean walks past a park and notices a drug-addicted woman pleading with her dealer for more time to pay for narcotics she received from him. After the woman leaves, Sean draws the attention of the dealers, Tony and Stretch, who notice him standing close. As the mobsters threaten Sean, the boy shockingly accuses Tony of murdering a child. This accusation prompts Tony to lose control and physically attack Sean. Sean displays a part of himself that no one has seen before. He fights back not simply to defend himself, but also to commemorate the memory of the dead child. In an unexpected turn of events, Sean manages to take hold of Tony's gun and eventually shoots him. The scene turns to Teresa Ames, a police officer coping with personal issues such as her ex-husband's incessant phone calls about their son. Despite her troubles, Teresa is assigned a key case involving Larry Childs, a drug dealer accused of murdering two people. Despite Teresa's persistent efforts, Larry's court hearing is suddenly postponed, giving his lawyer additional time to work on obtaining his release. Teresa's strong performance in the anti-crime and narcotics unit earns her a promotion to the homicide squad, where she will work alongside her colleague Gary to face new obstacles. Officer Bill Baldwin, whom Sean has known for a long time, happens to be present in the same unit as well. He pays Bill an occasional visit to utilize his computer. As night falls and Teresa prepares to leave the police station, she notices Sean using the printer unsupervised. Sean discloses his relationship to Officer Bill before leaving. Teresa is intrigued when she analyzes the printout left by Sean and discovers the unusual phrase Trislaren scribbled on it. Despite her confusion, she dismisses it and returns to her car, only to find one of the tires punctured. Sean notices her struggling and tries to assist, eliciting a discussion about Teresa's continuing case. Sean, who recognizes Teresa from Larry's trial news broadcasts, wonders if the perpetrator would go unpunished. Teresa concedes that if Larry is able to reach an agreement, she has no control over the situation. Teresa offers Sean a ride home once the tire is repaired, but he respectfully rejects, preferring to take the train. The next morning, Sean works hard on his punches on the punching bag. Terry joins him and offers advice on how to punch harder. Despite Terry's greatest efforts to be a father figure, Sean remembers his aggressive conduct against Mary and Sean. In a traumatic flashback, Sean recalls Terry arguing with Mary about Sean's practice. Mary attempted to protect Sean, but Terry's rage turned violent, as he struck her and told her to remain silent. So, even after all these years, Sean can't get these memories out of his head. Meanwhile, Stretch, the drug dealer, claims Tony was murdered, but there is no evidence. Gary proposes they avoid focusing on the case because Tony was involved in drugs and other crimes, making him a prime target. Teresa disagrees, believing there is more to the story. Teresa learns about Sean's traumatic history via Gary. His mother was killed in front of him 10 years ago. Despite the pain, Sean goes to the police station every day to browse through mugshots in the hopes of finding his mother's killer. Teresa approaches Sean one day and offers her assistance in discovering the truth. Though apprehensive at first, Sean eventually agrees to let Teresa help him. Meanwhile, a prostitute named Lizzie tries to inform her pimp, Joe, that she is unable to perform that night owing to illness. However, Joe reacts aggressively, driving Lizzie out of her room. Sean witnesses the confrontation and intervenes to defend Lizzie. He fights Joe, and both of them get injured. However, Sean's intervention was not at random. It is revealed that he chose Joe from the mugshot database with the intention of stopping his abusive conduct. As Joe threatens him, Sean immediately draws a gun from his pocket and shoots him in the chest, killing him instantly. Teresa and Gary return the next day to investigate Joe's death. They meet Lizzie, who witnessed the incident. She informs them that Joe was engaged in the murder of a 13-year-old girl but was not punished. The woman only recalls seeing Sean in a black garment and believes he was sent by God to save her. Teresa realizes while discussing the case that the person who killed Joe may have also killed Tony. To validate her theory, they proceed to the morgue and match the bullet found in Joe's body to that used in Tony's murder. During this visit, Teresa thinks Joe could be the guy Sean was looking for the day before. She questions Dr. Corner about trislarin, which she saw on Sean's paper. The doctor and his assistant agree that trislarin is a toxic drug that can cause swelling in the esophagus, resulting in choking. Dr. Corner also confirms that the bullets found from both deaths are identical, implying that the same person is responsible for both killings. Teresa asks Sean to lunch so that she can learn more about him. During their chat, they visit a Chinese restaurant, where Sean demonstrates his fluency in Chinese by warning a couple who were making harsh remarks. Sean explains that his mother urged him to learn several languages. Teresa then informs him that his mother's case is considered a random carjacking with no leads. She tells Sean to go on and resume his usual life. Sean, frustrated, asks Teresa what she would do if he knew the murderer's identity. Teresa highlights the importance of due process and the necessity of evidence before charging someone with a crime. Sean becomes increasingly outraged, pointing out the system's weaknesses and the injustice of criminals like Larry Childs escaping punishment. He is frustrated by the legal system's flaws. Meanwhile, Teresa and Gary are at Bill Baldwin's retirement celebration. Teresa continues to connect the dots between Tony and Joe's cases, noting parallels in how both men committed crimes and got away with it. She approaches Bill to inquire about Sean, but he answers harshly, accusing her of following them. Bill insists that they leave Sean alone to live his life. Later, a drug addict on the train begins harassing a woman. Sean, who is also aboard the train, surreptitiously puts a black material on his face and orders a Chinese youngster to accompany his mother out of danger. Then he had a violent conflict with the drug addict. A Chinese woman asks help from the authorities to stop the fight, and Teresa and Gary also happen to be on the same train. Despite Sean's acts, Teresa attempts to catch him, but he escapes. Afterward, one of the officers informed Teresa that the attacker spoke Chinese to the youngster and asked them to leave before the battle began. Sean awakens the next day to a dream in which Teresa arrests him, but it quickly fades. It's Sean's birthday, so Terry takes him to his mother's favorite restaurant to celebrate with cake. They unexpectedly run into Terry's old friend, Aaron, who recognizes him as Rock, a nickname he earned while boxing. Aaron now owns the restaurant and says he has some old photos of Terry and his friends in the back. While Terry catches up with Aaron, Sean discovers his father's past as an alcoholic who used to get into street fights. Aaron explains how Terry got the nickname Rock during those times. After their brief reunion, Terry apologizes for departing hastily and exchanges contact information with Aaron for a future meeting. Terry leaves the restaurant and chooses to treat Sean to a boxing event, spending quality time with his son after a lengthy absence. As a final surprise, Terry leads Sean to the street where Mary tragically died. He helps Sean realize that he should strive to forget the past and go on with his life. Terry apologizes to Sean for the pain that his addiction and violent behavior have caused. He recognizes that he cannot alter the past, but he commits to support and care for his son going forward. Teresa pays a visit to Bill's residence the following day, demanding an explanation for Sean. Though hesitant, Bill brings her inside and tells her the truth about the tragic night. Bill notes that Sean was so devastated by the catastrophe that he was unable to communicate his emotions adequately. When presented a lineup of photos, Sean quickly recognized someone. However, when they showed the photo to his father, Terry disregarded Sean's accusations, claiming any knowledge. Terry then lectured Sean about the implications of his conduct, and Sean, feeling pressed, stated he made a mistake and his father was correct. He remained silent about that night until he recently saw the criminal's photo again in the news. Sean still firmly believes that Larry Child is his mother's murderer, the same man Teresa is determined to bring to justice. Later that day, Sean approaches Teresa and praises her for her support. He tells her that he's resolved to go forward with his life. With those words, he departs with a companion to attend a party. Meanwhile, Teresa, who refuses to let go of the case, follows Sean to the party and waits outside. She learns from Gary that Larry Child has made a deal with the district attorney to evade full justice for his crimes. Inside the party, Sean had a flashback to Larry Child referring to his father as Rock the night of the event. He discovers that only Terry's buddies use that name, which raises suspicions. Suddenly, another act of violence comes to his attention. A bully from his school is harassing a female friend. Sean, unable to take such behavior, loses control and viciously beats the bully. After being stopped by a friend, Sean runs to Aaron's restaurant, while Teresa prepares to pursue him, desperate to discover the truth about his activities. As Sean continues on his journey, he can't ignore the haunting memories of Larry's voice from the horrible night his mother was killed. He vividly recalls Terry abruptly stopping the car in the dark after being rear-ended. Larry Child confronted Terry that night, saying something before turning to Mary and fatally shooting her. Sean feels motivated to dig further as the pieces of the puzzle begin to fall into place in his head. Sean, driven by his suspicions, smashes into Aaron's restaurant in search of clues. But by the time Teresa arrives, Sean has already left the scene. Teresa sees old images of Terry and Larry Child together inside the restaurant, which adds to her doubts about their relationship. Meanwhile, Terry gets home to discover his house in disarray. Concerned, he contacts the police to report the break-in, completely uninformed of the events surrounding his son and Teresa's inquiry. Terry enters the basement and sees Sean there. As Sean sits in the basement, heavily inebriated, memories of his tumultuous past flood back. He recalls how his father would drink too much and hurt him and his mother. Sean, overcome with grief, grabs a nearby gun and accuses his father of conspiring with Larry Child to murder his mother. Sean believes Terry committed it to obtain her life insurance money, with the intention of escaping their impoverished lifestyle and repaying his creditors. Sean's charge weighs heavily on Terry, who listens in disbelief. He tries to emphasize that he would never hurt his own family. But Sean is certain his father is to blame, fueled by years of anguish and fury. In a difficult time, Terry gains control of Sean. He admits to knowing Larry Child, but claims Sean misinterpreted what occurred that night. Sean insists that the killer called Terry Rock, but Terry denies it, attempting to comfort his kid. Sean, overcome with disbelief, shoots the gun toward his father's chest, tragically ending his life. During this time, Teresa appears on the scene. Teresa confronts Sean, who accuses Terry of hiring Larry Child to kill his mother, as the gun remains on the table. Sean immediately comes to Teresa and begs her help. Teresa decides to dispose of the gun used in the murder by dumping it into the river, realizing that not all justice can be served through legal means. Later, Sean writes a letter to Larry Child, who is serving time in jail. Instead of holding on to his rage, Sean forgives Larry, expecting that it may alleviate his guilt from the screams of his victims that haunt him. Sean simply wants to know the truth about his father's involvement in the murder, so he places 2 stamps in an envelope for Larry to respond to. In the letter, Sean requests that Larry use a black stamp if his father is innocent and a red stamp if he is convicted. But Larry, being dishonest, returns the letter with a red stamp. Sean anticipated this, though. However, it was discovered that he had coated the stamp's glue with trislarin, a lethal poison. As a result, Larry dies terribly from a swollen throat and suffocation. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.